Hey everyone, today I'm going to be finally doing another firearm review, and today we're going to be talking about this upper here from CMMG. This is one of their Banshee uppers in 5.7 by 28, so the same round as the PS90 or the FN57 pistol. This is something that I've been playing around with for a couple months now. I would have been doing this video a lot sooner, however, with the global pandemic that's been going around, ranges have been closed, at least my local range was. However, now I'm a member at a new range, which means I'm out shooting again and doing a little bit more interesting shooting, I would say, with this upper here. So if you've been following my channel for a while, you know way back when the Banshee line was first released, I had the opportunity to get an early look at one of the 300 Blackout uppers and do a review on that to be ready for the actual release of those. However, the 300 Blackout Banshees used the same regular gas system as most AR-15s, so there wasn't a whole lot too unique about that specific operating system. This, however, uses the same radial delay blowback that, say, their 9mm 45 ACP 9mm uppers use, and that is what I think is what makes this thing interesting to talk about and worth talking about. Now, before I dive too deep into the radial delay blowback, I want to mention that actually, like yesterday, Ian from Forgotten Weapons, who, if you're not following Forgotten Weapons, you're wrong. They recently did a video, again, I think yesterday, talking about the radial delay blowback that CMMG does and what makes it so unique and what the benefits are of it compared to other operating systems out there. So if you want to know more about how these Banshees separate themselves from the rest of the pack, definitely check out that video. I'm not going to go too deep into it in this video, but I will be touching on it later. To talk about this specific upper, they do make two different versions of the CMMG 5.7 uppers. So first of all, they make ones that use the FN57 pistol mags, and they make another one that uses these proprietary 40 round mags. So you're not up to the 50 round mags of the PS90, but we are working with a 40 round magazine, and as you can maybe tell, fits into a standard AR-15 lower. So right now I have it on an AR pistol lower that I already had put together, and then I've also been able to use this on my SBR lower, and that's one of the really cool things about what the Banshee line of uppers and complete firearms allow people to do. Now, as you can probably tell, this is not quite how it would come out of the box. I've added quite a bit of stuff here. So first of all, I have a set of Magpul MBUS Pro iron sights that I had laying around. I have a HoloSun red dot up here on top. And then I have a HoloSun LE321G that I picked up from Goon & Gear Inc. I'll have a link to them down below. Really great place to go if you're looking for anything night vision related. But this is an infrared, both visible and infrared laser, both visible and infrared illuminator. So I have a white light, an infrared laser, and a visible laser all in this unit, and I'm running it on a tape switch over here on the back. And then up front here, I have my YHM Turbo K suppressor. So one of the nice things about 5.7 is it's a similar bolt diameter to 5.56, and it's a similarly low pressure cartridge compared to 5.56, so I can just use my regular 5.56 can and run this thing suppressed, which I've done quite a bit of. And again, stuff we'll be touching on later as far as what my overall experience with this thing has been. So you might be wondering, why would I A, want a 5.7 upper or complete firearm from CMMG, and B, why would I want to go with CMMG period. So first of all, let's talk about 5.7. So 5.7 is a really interesting cartridge. It's been around for a really long time. It was originally, again, designed around things like the PS90 to give basically a PDW style firearm for frontline troops to use that could still penetrate body armor. Now, 5.7 is, again, rated for that. If you've seen my ballistic vest video that I did, or ballistic plate video I did, testing one from OreGear, you know that certain loads of this will easily defeat level 3A armor, which is a pretty neat little thing, especially in something as small and compact as the 5.7 cartridge. So you have something significantly lighter recoiling and easier to carry around while still maintaining good effectiveness against armored targets. That being said, if we're comparing it to full intermediate cartridges like 5.56, it doesn't necessarily have the same terminal ballistics as a larger cartridge, but if your goal is penetrating armor, this can definitely do that with light armor. And again, having the ability to now do this in something, the form factor or ergonomic type that I'm familiar with here with the AR-15 style versus something like a PS90, which is prohibitively expensive for most people and unattainable for most people, let alone, and ergonomically very different. There's a lot of benefits of just using an AR upper as opposed to changing the type of firearm entirely. Now, if you've decided you want a 5.7 AR style gun and you want to know why you should go with CMMG, again, we are all going back to that radial delay blowback. So to demonstrate that, I'm going to take this thing apart a little bit so you can actually see what is different about the bolt carrier group on this thing, because you really have to visually see it to be able to totally appreciate it. Really, you have to be able to shoot it to totally appreciate it, but seeing it should hopefully make it a little bit more clear. So if you're familiar with pistol caliber carbine AR-15s, you'll know that a lot of times they are pure blowback operated. So that means that they have to have a very heavy bolt carrier group in order to keep that chamber closed while the pressure is still really, really high. Now, having that excessively heavy bolt carrier means that you're translating a lot more recoil into the shooter because you have a more heavy reciprocating mass, and usually it still bottoms out at the end of the buffer tube or receiver extension, which again is translating more weight to the shooter. This, even though it's a very similar profile to the AR-15, obviously we have no gas key because this is not gas operated, it's just that radial delay blowback. And you can also see that this has lightning cuts. So not only is it a similar profile to the AR-15 without the excessive bulk of the regular pistol caliber carbines, because 5.7 is what it is, this is even more drastically reduced to still maintain reliability without that excessive need for recoil. Now, it still takes apart in a very similar way to an AR-15, so you still have your cotter pin, you still have your cam pin and everything else, but there are some very fine differences up here, like kind of from here forward, that is what, really makes this thing work the way it does, and is really where the magic happens, so to speak. So hopefully you'll be able to see this, but as I rotate this bolt carrier around and you look at the bolt itself, if you look at the aft portion of the lugs, you'll see that they are not perfectly square. They are actually very slightly angled. Now what that does is it causes there to be, first of all, a locking bolt, which is a very good thing, which we'll talk about here in a second, but also causes this to have to rotate before it can actually unlock from the barrel extension, which is what causes this to remain closed while the chamber pressure is still really high. Now, ordinarily, the way an AR-15 works is you have the gas expanding basically into a little piston here, where the bolt and the carrier are interacting back here, and the carrier comes back. So if this is locked, it's spring-loaded, but if the bolt was locked, the rearward travel of the bolt carrier is what would unlock the bolt and then allow that to open up on a regular AR-15. In this, it's the exact opposite. So When it's closed, it's slightly rotated again. And then as the carrier wants to unlock naturally from the chamber pressure being high, the rotation causes the bolt carrier to start moving back, and then rotates the bolt enough to unlock, and then that initiates the rearward, I can't talk, travel of the bolt carrier. So that radial delay blowback is again the secret to the success of the Banshee line of PCCs. So whether you're shooting their 9mm, their 10mm, their 45, all of them are far nicer to shoot recoil-wise and suppressor-wise and everything else compared to their regular blowback AR counterparts. So again, if you want to see more of a breakdown of that radial delay blowback system, definitely check out the Forgotten Weapons video on it. Ian has a much deeper breadth of knowledge on the different operating systems out there and can articulate that in a much, hopefully clear and concise way than I probably just did. So again, one of the big benefits to the radial delay blowback is how well it shoots suppressed. If you're familiar with the PS90, you know that FN says you should not shoot the P90 suppressed. Now, a lot of people do it anyway. However, because of the way that thing operates, you're definitely going to have the gun beat itself apart when you're shooting it, excessively at least, suppressed. This CMMG doesn't necessarily have that same limitation, but they do also allow you to increase the weight of that bolt in case you are shooting suppressed to help slow down that bolt velocity and make it a little bit nicer to shoot suppressed. So while it's been running fine for me suppressed, I would say that if you're going to be shooting it predominantly suppressed, as I have been, you probably want to get that weight system that you can add to the carrier to help slow everything down. Now, I have a couple friends who have PS90s who shoot them a lot suppressed, and having shot this next to their PS90, and I don't remember if I caught this on camera or not, basically one of them said that this is definitely nicer to shoot suppressed than his P90. Now this is longer than his P90, but that's not saying much because those things are really short when SBR'd. But at least as far as the recoil impulse and just kind of the whole user experience suppressed, this thing was much, much nicer. And as you might be able to tell from the Holosun up here, I was able to shoot this thing at night a little bit under night vision, both with my regular PVS-14 and with the Psionics Aurora Pro, which I'll be doing a lot more talking about later, so just wait for that. And because of the low muzzle signature of the 5.7, this thing was very easy to shoot at night because of the lighter recoil when you're not using your traditional firing stance, because you have to be able to see over everything, and when you're just using your lasers, the very, very light recoil made it very easy to transition and maintain a good laser sight picture compared to some of the more full power cartridges out there or intermediate cartridges out there. So a really kind of handy package to have, regardless of your use. Again, if you're not looking for really good terminal ballistics, if you're just looking for something nice and light and handy to shoot, as well as something that has light armor penetrating ability, this is a really nice little package. So if you're interested in getting one of the Banshee line of firearms, you have a lot of different options on how to go about that. So as you can see, I have just the upper here. You can get just the complete uppers if you already have like a SBR lower or a pistol lower or a registered machine gun lower, and it'll just drop right onto that. And again, you can use standard AR-15 style mag pouches and lowers and everything else, just using their proprietary mags. I guess that's one of the other things I mentioned. I'm just using my same regular battle belt setup that I've used forever because these fit in the standard mag pouches. You can also buy a complete rifle or pistol from CMMG, so upper, lower, and everything, and you can all get it the same matching Cerakote. This is their bazooka green. You can get the whole thing done in that way if you wanted to. The other option that I think is really cool that they do is you can buy just the bolt and barrel combos. So if you already have your favorite style of upper, say you hate running forward assists, or you just have this look that you like to go with for all your builds, you can get your own upper, you can get your own handguard and just drop their bolt and their barrel straight into that upper, and then just build whatever else you want around that. So you can have something shipped straight to your door and retrofit what was maybe a 5.56 or a 9mm AR pistol into whatever caliber you want available in the CMMG line, which I think, again, is a really cool option. Now, as far as barrel and length combinations, you have this, which is an 8-inch barrel. You can go all the way down to a 5-inch barrel, or as long as a 16-inch barrel. And there's going to be some price variation on that depending on the configuration you go with, because it's going to come with things like ambidextrous charging handles, ambidextrous safeties, and all that kind of stuff with the shortest configuration in the 5-inch. And then with the 8-inch, you can start reducing cost with charging handles and whatnot, and then 16-inch you can drop that down even lower, or again just buy your own bolt and barrel and build it however you want around that. Now, if you haven't already seen it, I'm going to go ahead and put a link in the description to the video I did with a marketing firm here for CMMG here in Oregon, where I got a chance to shoot quite a few different Banshees, both in like this thing, but in the 5-inch configuration. I shot a 9mm one, I shot a 6.5 Grendel one, and I also shot a 10mm Banshee. That's not bad at all. All of which, like I said, were extremely pleasant to shoot. Even the 10mm honestly was surprising with that radial delay, how pleasant that thing was to shoot. I would say it felt better in 10mm than regular blowback AR9s feel in 9mm, but that's just my opinion on that. But it was a really good way to get a cross section of it, and a really good way to get my feet dipped into kind of a good cross section of the CMMG Banshee line outside of what I'd been used to with the 300 Blackout. And like I say in that video, the 9mm suppressed is probably the most pleasant 9mm shooting experience I've had, maybe with the exception of the MP5. Again, compared to other AR9s or Scorpions or anything like that, that pistol was far more suppressor friendly and pleasant to shoot suppressed and quieter suppressed than just about anything else out there. So I really think that CMMG is onto something here with the radial delay blowback. I am very, very impressed by just the overall feel and performance of this thing, and I think that if you're looking for something in that pistol caliber carbine realm, regardless of what colors or configurations or lengths you want, I think one of the things you really owe it to yourself to do is to check out the whole Banshee line and decide if one of those is going to be right for you. Pro tip, it probably is going to be right for you. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and throw that in the comment section down below. I'll try to get back to you as quick as I can. I really want to say thanks to my patrons for making a video like this one possible. While CMMG did provide the upper for me to review, 5.7 ammo is not cheap. It is quite far from it, in fact. And so the contributions from people over on Patreon is what directly resulted in my ability to bring this video to you guys. So I want to say thanks to them, which is why I post all my content over to Patreon early, as well as Subscribestar. I know there are people who don't like doing Patreon, so I do also have a Subscribestar. So again, thanks to those people for making this video possible. But anyway, as always, I hope you got something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.